a question here from Anthony Riley, who wants to ask you if there's any progress on obtaining the Chuck Clark footage that you've spoken about previously. Oh, probably shouldn't have asked that.
God, I wish.
What can you just? Do I know what that is? I'm not sure what that is.
He's spot on. So,
what is that?
When I was doing, I got to give you this story. This will be my last story, but you got to do this because I can't not tell you what the Chuck Clark story is. When I was doing my first UFO doc in the 90s, I covered Area 51. Area 51 was kind of a subject back then. I think that Bob Lazar, it was catapulted in late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
I think it was probably like 95, 96, 97. I was working on it. And there was a guy in Rachel that was a former military guy by the name of Chuck Clark. And he wrote like a little handbook called the Area 51 Guidebook or something. And he had figured out all these different vantage points that he could access that wasn't violating, like he wasn't trespassing. And he could look down onto the base, and he had telescopes, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
And he had a pretty cool UFO encounter with something that was probably connected to the base. And so I interviewed him about that. And we got to know each other quite well, and I'd go out at night with him, and, I went back and forth probably a handful of times. Well, I get a phone call from him out of the blue, and he says, "Hey, James," he's like, "I got something to show you." And I said, "Oh, what's that, Chuck?" He goes, "Well, I can't really talk about it, but let me just tell you this. When you see it, your jaw's going to hit the floor." And I said, "Really? That good?" He goes, "That good."
I think I know this story.
Yeah.
I think you told me that. Keep going. This is a great story.
I said, and I'd known Chuck for a couple of years at this point. He's not the kind of guy to exaggerate. I mean, he's really calm, even-keeled. Like, I knew that it was going to be good. I literally dropped everything I was doing. I got in my car and I drove like 12 hours. I get there. He's got a double wide in Rachel, go into his trailer. He has a VHS tape, pops that VHS tape in, and he didn't really talk too much with me about it other than some kids came in from LA. One was like 19, the other one was like close to 30. They were on a quintessential, extraterrestrial highway road trip, Area 51, blah, blah, blah. Get to the little alien, they're, goofing off. And he goes, "I got this tape from these guys." And that was it. He didn't really give me much more than that at the time. Pops the tape in. And there is literally the quintessential road trip going on. Like, they're goofing off in the car. They're listening to music. They're filming out the side. They're posing next to the ET sign or like, the aliens at the Alien Inn, they're inside just goofing off, having a road trip, They're parked. It's dusk. The camera angle is like, if you can imagine the two front seats, okay? Got a guy in the front, got a guy behind the wheel, guy in the passenger seat. The car's parked. The camera is like on the armrest, I'm guessing, it had to be, on the armrest, kind of cocked a little bit. It was like turned a little bit, so it wasn't level. Okay. And it sounded to me like, you couldn't see them, but it sounded like they're trying to crawl under the fucking, excuse my French, under the car seats. I'm sorry. It sounds like they're trying to crawl under the car seats. They're just hysterical. Get down, get down.
In terror.
I promise you, they're hysterical. And all of a sudden, you see you see the dashboard, you see like all the little levers for the heating and the radio, a little bit of the steering wheel, you see the windshield a little bit, and it's like, it lights up like a Steven Spielberg movie, okay? Like, it just like this yellowy orange light that floods the inside of the cabin, okay? Now, they're hysterical, okay? It literally sounds like they're trying to crawl under the seat. It's over the top of us. It's over us now. It's over us. Get down. Get down. They're screaming. And you're looking at this light on the inside of the car, and it's like the shadows are moving around like the light source is on a pendulum and it's just rocking, right?
And they're still out like in Nevada, somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, basically?
Well, I'll continue. Yeah. I mean, the car's parked. So you've never seen anything like what I'm trying to tell you. You've never seen a fluid motion of light, shadows. The way they're moving around the inside of the car, you're looking at something you've never seen before. Like, I've never seen this effect, because the light source above it is doing this like fluid motion, like really smooth and fluid, and all the shadows, and it's pretty bright, you know? And then one kid goes, it's got to be the younger guy, I'm pretty sure it was, "I'm getting out." And the other guy's telling him, screaming not to get out. He goes, "I'm getting out." He grabs the camera, opens up the door, and you see, like, you know, it's dark, but it's not like, you know, I see the desert and I see like a tumbleweed or something. And then all of a sudden the camera is panned up no more than the height of a telephone pole. There's this perfect flying saucer, okay? And it's glowing like the skin is alive, is the best way I can describe it. The skin, the fabric of this device, and it was perfect, was glowing, and it was rocking like a ship, not on still water, but slightly rough, and it was just floating there like this. And my brain was hearing all the eyewitness testimony that I'd interviewed for all these years try to describe what they look like, and it was filling in the blanks for me, because I realized you're looking at something that you've never seen before. You're looking at a behavior of an object that's in the air that you have no reference points. And it's glowing in a way like phosphorus on a beach, like the skin is alive.
It seems like the best UFO video ever.
Oh my God, I saw it with my own eyes. And here's another thing. It looked like if you took like a pie, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, took a pie, and you got one of those pizza knives or whatever, and you kind of cut through it symmetrically, like pieces that you're going to pull out, but you didn't pull them out. The seams of a pie, like the seams, were darker. They were darker where the seams were, right? The seams were perfectly symmetrical, like a pie, all the way around it. And it just sat there wobbling. And the cameraman, and I'm just like, I'm gobsmacked. Yeah, I'm like, holy moly. This is the holy grail. Like, this is what everyone's been waiting for. And the cameraman goes, "Oh my God." And then the camera shuts off. And I looked over at Chuck Clark and I went, where did you get that? What the? I just was so, I couldn't believe it. 100 million times better than anything I've seen since. Okay.
Yeah.
And long story short, Chuck was like, well, they're terrified. They captured something on audio. It was a high 8 tape. They let me make a copy on VHS, and that was it. And they swore up and down. I said, well, Chuck, Jesus, like, you're in touch with these guys. Give him my telephone number. Tell him I'll do whatever it takes to get this footage. I should have just grabbed the bloody tape and left.
Yeah.
I'm kicking myself to this day.
I know. I really wish you had.
I wish I had, for the greater good of humankind. And so Chuck, he's like, you know, I'll see what I can do. And then it was just like a no. And literally for years, I kept hounding him. And he said, James, if you ask me again, I'm not going to talk to you again. And he goes, and besides, I don't even have it anymore. And I was thinking to myself, you don't have it anymore? How could you not have that anymore? Nobody throws away a piece of footage that good.
Right.
So I fast forward, I'm doing an interview with George Knapp. We're exchanging stories about the best footage we ever had, and I tell him that story. He goes, Chuck Clark had an interview. When I go, yeah. He goes, that guy, I did a story on that guy. His place got raided by the feds. I went, really? He goes, oh, yeah, they raided his place, turned his place upside down. And I went, really? And he goes, really, James? And I said, well, that's it. When he said he didn't have the tape anymore, he really didn't have the tape anymore. And so, you know, so there's kids out there that are probably, let's see, that 24 years ago?
They're not kids now. They're probably 40.
19-year-old would be 20, 40, about 45, okay? So he's got to be about 45 years old, and the last I knew, he lived in LA. I have tried and tried and tried. I have found Chuck Clark's address. He doesn't have a telephone number. I don't. I got his address somewhere from the little alien in Rachel, Nevada. We've written letters. He hasn't responded. That's it, man.
You have their identity. You know who they are, but you haven't been able to
I don't know who they are. No, I don't.
You don't. Well, hopefully they'll see this video on YouTube and they'll reach out to you. That would be the best.
That's the one that got away.
Yeah.